Hey, my name's Chris. Welcome back to the channel. This is my front-end developer guide, I suppose for 2025. I'm filming it actually in November of 2024, but I think all of this information is like super valid and it's kind of long-lasting, almost like Lindy effect for front-end development. If that means anything to you, then yeah, hopefully it does and you're in the right place. But yeah, this is for like complete beginners or aspiring developers, particularly if you're like looking at the front end or maybe you're full stack and want to learn a bit more about the front end. Perhaps you're QA or platform or DevOps, perhaps a slightly different industry, but you want to learn about what to learn in the front end and also why as well, which I'm going to be diving into. So yeah, if I go to the first slide, I guess I just wanted to kind of preface this with like, why learn to code? So AI is here now. So you I think learn it or you're going to get left behind. There's lots of new tools coming out every day or every week, it seems like at the point. And yeah, you can either use it, you can learn it, maybe you can actually build your own or wrappers around these, or you're going to get left behind, I think, in the industry, in front end, in tech, and just, I think, in the whole job market, right, globally. So the good thing is, though, that it's never been an easier time to learn and for free as well. You don't need an expensive education like a 3-year computer science degree or a bachelor's or, whatever you want. I learned completely for free online, self-taught, self-paced as well. And I always say, like, you just have to get going, you have to get good, and then you can get great at your own pace. It's really how much time you put into it, and then how much someone's willing to pay you basically for these skills, which are still in demand. And I think I don't see that shifting. I just see the demand moving into different areas. It's like AI, for example. So side hustle opportunities like never before, really. You with code you can do so much. You can create websites, write apps for yourself, for your friends, for other people. Obviously, I'm employed currently full time, and can always build stuff on the side or help friends out with websites for them and their businesses. And yeah, I know a lot of people that perhaps do this, like, I guess, indie hacker community and all of that, which is quite exciting. There's lots of opportunities basically, so you don't have to just learn to code for yourself. You can use those skills and yeah, impact a lot of people. So in learning to code, you develop yourself for sure, and you can get or develop a growth mindset as well. So anything that you don't know, and at the start, no one comes out, of the womb learning to code. So you have to learn these skills and nurture them and grow basically. And the growth mindset's a huge one. I know a lot of boot camps kind of look out for this as well when they're like trying to take on applicants. Is that yeah, it's really having that mindset that you can grow, and anything you put your mind to, you can do, and anything can be learned. And that's why I say, like, you can learn to code, you can learn anything really. And definitely my learning to code over the last, I guess, 4 years now, 4.5 years at this point. I've learned a lot of other stuff as well on the side, and it's all because now that I know that I can do a lot more and sort of reach my potential, which I almost didn't do before. But that's a story for another day. So, how to learn to code? You've got HTML and CSS. These are the building blocks of the web, and you probably, if you're looking at front end, want to start with these. You might know this already, but HTML is the skeleton of a website, and then CSS is the skin. Don't need to know too much about them at the moment. I'm going to kind of just go through high level topics and things that you might want to pick out. But I'll suggest courses and the route that I took as well, and it's quite structured in that sense that yeah, you'll learn things as you need to learn them. So HTML, CSS. Here you go. So Free Code Camp. Start with the first certificate, responsive web design. It's incredible. So Free Code Camp, if you don't know, it's a charity. They're kind of like, yeah, donor led, and they just provide free coding resources and tutorials on YouTube for a lot of people, and they've helped a lot of people out, like probably tens of thousands, if not more, at this point over 10 years. And myself as well. That's where I started, and a lot of my content on the channel has been about Free Code Camp, just to kind of give back. And I still do a lot of like one-to-ones and sort of web dev, I guess, mentorship for a lot of people that are aspiring or junior developers. So next one's YouTube University, as I like to call it. It's just youtube.com. There's a lot of websites, channels. So Traversing Media, the Net Ninja, Fireship, etc. There's so many that you can learn to code for free, and these are high quality like really good courses, either crash courses or like full ones. I would say just be a bit wary about the time you're spending on YouTube. You don't want to follow a tutorial, I guess after, let's say, the first 6 months or a year of learning to code. You don't want to follow a tutorial at all, really. You just want it for those building blocks, the basics. You do need to be handheld when you're starting out, which Free Code Camp and then some of these channels, particularly Traversing Media, so Brad and the Net Ninja, who I think is called Sean, those two are great. And then Fireship's great for like 100-second videos to learn new concepts, and maybe then you can dive into them on your own. But anyway, in terms of docs as well, you've got MDN, so that's Mozilla Developer Network, and W3C Schools. You'll be looking at those a lot if you're learning HTML and CSS and trying to Google how to do various things. You'll just come across these. So yeah, just use them, follow the links. You'll probably find that a lot of links are purple after a little while. And that's because you've come across that before and you've forgotten it. That's a lot of what searching the internet is about, right? And trying to find answers to your question. You'll have probably searched that before, but you'll have forgotten. So it's a huge topic. You can never really master anything, but you can certainly, if you know something can be done, you can find out how to get the answer. So there you go. Use the docs. So build early. Build a website. Literally anything you can build based on a template, perhaps like from Dribble or Behance. This could be an app as well. I'm not just limiting it to websites, but I say if you're a front-end developer, I think websites and or apps are great places to start. And you can also do the free front-end mentor challenges. These were great for me, and I was part of a coding meetup group. Well, it was virtual at the time in 2021. But they had challenges, and you could kind of maybe pair with someone else who's learning to code, or try and find someone in your community as well. That is also a similar stage to you, and let's work on it together. That's how you'll be developing in real life, unless you're a solopreneur or a freelance developer just working with yourself. It'd be good to get some experience with other people on that. So once you've learned HTML, CSS, and maybe just built a few like websites, just using that, learn JavaScript. It adds functionality and interactivity to a website. So anytime you click a button or like something, that is JavaScript powering that interaction, and that will go off to a backend, which we'll get to. But yeah, it's needed for web apps. Otherwise, you've just got a static site, which doesn't do anything. It just might look pretty. So again, Free Code Camp plus YouTube University, two great resources there, especially with the Free Code Camp certificate. I'd say always start with that and then find other courses and stuff on YouTube that you might be able to learn JavaScript with. So build 5 projects and sort of just keep practicing JavaScript. You're again never really done with JavaScript. I'm still learning stuff all the time, and the language is evolving and changing. Every year there's new releases and that kind of thing. So keep on top of it. Build one unique project. So it can be anything, and I'd say CRUD, which means create, read, update, delete. So you might have a list of items on a page. You can add to that. You can update them, you can delete them, and obviously reading is just displaying the list that you've created. So yeah, CRUD app, and basically once you understand CRUD and that, I guess, methodology or terminology, everything is a CRUD app really on a website, and it's just how different interfaces and that kind of thing. So some project ideas might be a digital bookshelf for your books, e-commerce site or a photo gallery. All of these things will require you to go off and find out, how to display a list, how to update a cart if you're adding to your trolley on an e-commerce site, and how to handle photos. These are all great things to understand. And probably once you're actually working in the industry, you'll be doing all of this on a daily basis. So yeah, I wouldn't say just, even if you want to do all these projects, do them all and others as well, but at least 5 projects to really understand JavaScript. And that's what I would do. So React. I think React has won in terms of front-end frameworks. I don't need to bring up statistics, but yeah, it seems like that's the case. I remember when I was learning to code, it was like choose your Pokemon. It was React, Vue, or Angular. I chose React because that was just more popular at the time, and it still is, and I think it's only grown as well in market share. So look at the official docs. They've got some great tutorials there. Again, Free Code Camp. I've got YouTube University, and then in the middle there's Scrimba as well, which is a cool platform. You kind of code in the website, and you can pause videos and then code over it and save it. It's quite cool. Check it out. But again, just use their free stuff. If you really want, you can go on the pro version. But as I said, I've not personally spent any money learning to code, and I don't think you have to either. Everything is online or open sourced now, and there's just the barrier to entry super low. So next, once you've kind of learned the basics through a few tutorials, convert those previous projects from HTML, CSS, and JavaScript into React. Rebuild them. You might have like 5 or more projects by now. Rebuild those in React. Try different styling options as well. You've got many different options available to you. Here's just a few of SCSS, styled components, Tailwind. You might want to use a component library like Bootstrap or ShadCN, for example. Oh, and actually, I guess I mentioned that down there, component libraries. So skipped over state management, which is, you could use Redux, Toolkit. You might want to use the context API. If you can just understand how to store, I guess, state and manage it when it's been updated on your app, that goes a long way. And then eventually you'll hook it up to a backend and persist that data. So when the user refreshes, they don't lose their, newly added books on their bookshelf. And then build your own component library, Storybook, use that. There's a lot of things that you can work on design systems, and for some people that's their whole career, is like just building and maintaining design systems. I think it's better if you just use one out of the block. So ShadCN UI is a great component library, but it's not a design system as such. But yeah, build your own, and then you can reuse those in later projects. So Next.js, it's basically a React meta framework almost. It's kind of their preferred framework. So you'll see this mentioned in the docs. If you're going to build a new React app, rather than what I used to use was Create React App, the CRA, they recommend Next and Remix and others now. But yeah, have a look at the official docs and their guides. Build projects using both. The pages router and the apps router as well, which is newer. And then you've got these kind of new things like client server components and form server actions. Some of this stuff might be changing around like form state, I'm not quite sure, but you can kind of just learn it and sort of understand what the benefits are for using Next.js over perhaps just a traditional React app client side. So as I said, you want somewhere for your data to be stored so that it isn't lost when the user just refreshes the page or logs in, logs out. So you want to learn SQL or NoSQL, which is structured query language. And you want to start with just some database fundamentals. What is a database? It could be as simple as a spreadsheet. But yeah, you probably want to use a proper database for your data, for your site. So MySQL, SQLite for SQL. We've got Firebase, which now does both. You've got Superbase, which is a open source alternative to Firebase, which is by Google. So Superbase is, as I said, open source, not by Google. And they have PostgreSQL as well. If you want to do more enterprise stuff, like what I guess big businesses use, MS SQL, which is the Microsoft flavor of SQL. You've got Oracle DB, AWS, GCP, which is Google Cloud Platform, and Azure as well. All of these have huge offerings, and like AWS have so many different products related to databases and just management of that. You could kind of get lost doing certificates, but yeah, have a look at all of these and just see if there's something that you might kind of pique your interest. And then ORMs as well, if you need to, which is object relational mapping. You've got Prisma, Drizzle, there's a few others as well. Sometimes it just makes it easier to use kind of their flavor of queries rather than raw SQL. Yeah, have a look at it. If you like it, use it. If you don't, just move on, and you can say that you know it, put it on your CV, that kind of thing. So you've got two types, authentication and authorization. Just learn the difference between the two. One is, can you sign in to a site? And once you're there, are you actually authorized to see the content on that site? Are there different permission levels, perhaps, that if you don't have the right level, maybe you can't access particular web pages, or you can't see certain content on a page where someone else can? That's kind of like the admin user privileges, whereas authentication is just logging in and logging out. So yeah, you want to set up like sign in, log in, reset password flows. You probably have done this many times on different websites, and you can understand how annoying it is sometimes when you have a reset or a login password and it's just super annoying going through. Make that a nice experience. You can use email and password, maybe magic links as well. So that's an email, get sent out with a link to log in. Social providers, so you could log in with your Google account or Facebook, for example. There's lots of options there. You could use the Passport.js Next.auth packages if you're working with React, and Next, as I recommended. They've also got Kind and Clerk as well, and these have like huge free tiers from, I don't know, tens of or hundreds of thousands of users before you would be paying anything. No credit card needed, I think, for a lot of them. I've definitely used Kind before, and Next.auth and Passport. So yeah, give them a go and just see how you get on with implementing authentication yourself. Because I think if you don't control your users, you don't really control anything on your app. And if you're a serious developer, you're going to want to understand how these work, because you might be building them yourself. So we'll move on to a bit of DevOps, which is, a lot of CI/CD. So that's continuous integration, continuous development. You might have GitHub Actions. You can use Jenkins, different pipelines as well, like building stuff. You've got Docker, Kubernetes, which is like the management, I guess, of projects. And I guess it kind of comes under a bit of platform and infrastructure engineering. But yeah, I think as developers and front end, it's good to get into this, and something that I've been looking at a bit more, I guess, over the last 6 months, kind of getting a bit more involved in. But yeah, it's good to know like how to push your code, how to package it up, and then have it ready to be deployed as well. You're not going to be working on localhost at a big company and just pushing your code to GitHub and it will just be built automatically for you, unless you've got a good team there. But yeah, let's move on. So testing, we've got many different types. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I think the main ones are units, like integration and functional. For front-end devs, it might be that you have a whole QA team doing this for you, but if you can kind of take charge and understand where you're going to use different testing at different points, that goes a long way. There's lots of different packages and frameworks that you might want to use. Just a couple there for unit testing would be Jest and React testing library if you're using React. You've got Cypress and Playwright for kind of those functional integration tests as well. You've got Percy for visual. You might want to use some browser stack for using different browsers. How does your website like look on a mobile app or different browsers, all that kind of thing. And you can do different things with like pre-commit, post-commit pipelines and pre-deployment, etc. And that's when you're pushing your code from your laptop to a remote server on GitHub or GitLab, for example. Do you want to do some static code analysis at that point, or maybe later when on a pipeline, so it's kind of offloaded and you can move on? So that kind of brings us to AI, which I'm most excited about, I think, going forward into the next year. We've got ChatGPT and kind of everything they're doing there. I guess it will be chat.com soon with the new domain. You've got V0 from Vercel, and there's lots of new ones which I found, like bolt.new, and there's another wrapper.com, and obviously just loads of stuff around AI, which is really interesting. So just use them to learn along the way, and then you can also just use them to help you build, right? That's kind of where I'm at, and work with different models via their APIs as well, and sort of get an understanding of what the market's like at the moment, and if you're using these personally for your development, maybe not AI related. Other niches as well, you could use or learn WordPress. There's a lot of stuff going on in the community of WordPress at the moment. I don't know quite what's there. Maybe there's an opportunity to get in and sort of learn WordPress development. Otherwise, you can use Wix, I guess, for more marketing sites and sort of front end. They can get complex, but I think they obviously perhaps paid. You got Shopify for anything e-commerce related. And to be honest, even though I'm an e-commerce developer, if I had a personal e-com site, I'd probably host it on Shopify. It takes a lot of the pain out, and they've done a lot of the infrastructure, and I guess, integrating Stripe and billing and all of that as well. I would probably just use the experts in the industry, and then go high level as well is, I guess, good for if you're selling sites to clients or maybe freelancing. I know a lot of people have had success in this, and they're doing like 10k months just selling go high level websites to businesses. So is there anything I missed? I know I ran through this pretty fast. I guess let me know in the comments if there's anything you're expecting to see on the front end guide, or anything you'd add that you're learning next year in 2025 in terms of front end. I think I covered everything pretty well, but maybe not. But yeah, let me know what you thought in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And thanks for watching.